What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you don't know me, my name is Shane and this is the Shane Show. Alright guys, in today's video we finally got the motor back. So this is our Billet RB25, goes in our Skyline up here, our R33. If you haven't seen the video of it breaking down, go ahead and check it out a couple videos ago. So this motor is almost completely rebuilt. So the pistons were bored out to 86.5, so we had to get 86.5 millimeter pistons. We ended up going with CP pistons. So 86.5 millimeter pistons all the way. Got the block completely redone. It's got redecked. So a couple of other things we did: new rod bearings, new main bearings, and one of the biggest things that we did is we got a new oil pump. We did get a new Nitto oil pump, and if you look closely, you can see the grooves in here are pretty thick. Like it's a good quarter of my finger in there. So what we did is right here, this is the new crank collar that we had put on. We had it put machined on at the machine shop at Scottsdale Machine. Shout out Scottsdale Machine. And so basically what happens is your OEM oil pump on RBs is really thin right there, and there's not a lot of material that'll cover for the oil pump, and they just snap and they can't handle it once you get up in power. This Nitto oil pump is good for, I believe, up to like almost 1500 horsepower, like on a lot of the crazy RBs, on the race ones that they use in quarter miles and stuff like that. This is the oil pump they use. So had it all apart. Want to push like around 700, figured, you know what, just play it safe. After all the research I did, this is the way to go. So Nitto oil pump if you guys are looking for one. If you look at the difference here, you can see, look, the amount of material here that you have covering versus the amount of material here that you have covering. And so I talked about that other crank collar of how much you can sit in there. Can't sit in there very much. Plus this oil pump too is a lot tougher spring, 120 psi of pressure for oil going through. You can take the spring out and bump it down to 75 if you want, but it's way better than the OEM factory oil pump. Like look at that crank collar right there on the width. It's not very much at all compared to that one right there. So if you're building your RB motor, I highly recommend getting a Nitto oil pump. Way better than the N1 oil pumps or any of the other ones out there that I was doing research on. It is pricey. It's almost $1,200 just for the oil pump, but you don't have to worry about anything. Peace of mind. One of the biggest things with the RBs is cylinder 6 not getting enough oil, with the oil pump being here up front. So when the oil is pushing it back, all that pressure, you don't have to worry about not enough oil getting to cylinder 6. So definitely well worth it. Okay, so what we're gonna do today is we're gonna get the oil pump on. We're gonna put it on over the collar here. We already got the gasket on. I'm going to go ahead and slide it right over. Also, I already have my oil pump gasket in here. Went with Cometic gaskets, so make sure that you guys get the best. Cometic's always the way to go. We're also going to put on the rear main seal back here, and then we're going to put on the gear for the crank along with the backing plate also. And so we'll get that stuff done today. One of the other things that I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get a new water pump also. They're only $80 for new OEM water pumps, so I figured may as well since I'm right here. And then the other thing, and install the oil pickup along with the pan and get that all on there too. So again, shout out to Scottsdale Machine here in Arizona. Live in Phoenix, but they're out of Scottsdale, obviously, Scottsdale Machine. And just awesome to see it all decked and bored out, and they took the crank out and balanced it and everything. So have all the clearances here. Also took all of the piston rings and put them in and gapped those out. So have the main bearing clearances here, the rod bearing clearances, and then the ringing gaps. So for the ring end gaps for the second ring, right, we have the top and the second on there. Gaps at 21 and 25, pretty much all the way around. Yep, all the way around. So top ring was set at 21 thousandths and the second ring was set at 25. We are going to be running a lot of boost on this. We want to hit around 700 horsepower to the wheels. So with all of that in here, we should be good. Shouldn't have to do this again. This is the third time that I've had to take this motor apart. So anyways, enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and put this back together. I just love how clean this oil pump looks. We've got the cool Nitto logo. You won't see that because it'll be on the inside, but so let's go ahead and get this mounted on motor. All right, so quick update. Got the oil pump on. I went ahead and torqued all of these bolts at 8 foot-pounds. I went ahead and looked it up. And actually I used an inch-pound torque converter, so 96 inch-pounds. Went ahead and put this plate on also behind the crank gear, and then slid the crank gear on. Make sure the crank gear only goes on one way, because when you set the timing, you're going to want this dot right here to line up with there when you're ready to set the timing. So pumps on, so gasket, pump, got the plate for the crank gear, got the crank gear on. And then, so next what we'll do is we're gonna go ahead and clean up this oil pan down here and then go ahead and mount it. Another thing I forgot to mention too, that if you guys get an oil pump, the Nitto oil pump, you wanna make sure that anytime you're removing the crank collar, you're gonna wanna make sure, like it says right here on the instructions, there's a warning that the crankshaft must be in near new condition. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you pull the crank out and get it all redone, make sure it looks clean, balanced, all that stuff. And then make sure that if there is any rounding of the leading edges or the flat surfaces, you want to make sure to replace the collar. So please make sure you read this. Also, before you fire up the motor at all, we're going to go ahead and we're going to prime it. We're going to get that oil pressure up. So it said 120. You want to definitely, before you fire it up, to have it over 100. You want to get that oil pressure cranked up. So that way you know everything's nice and lubricated before you hit it up. All right, so status update. We got the oil pickup on. It's just 2 bolts, and then we got a gasket that goes in there. So I want to make sure that there's no holes or anything like that on the pickup. So this is your filter that goes in, sucks the oil in, and so it's in pretty good shape. Don't need to replace it there. Make sure there's no hair or anything like that on there. So what we got next is the oil pan, and you can just see all this RTV that's on here. Then I got hair and stuff in here that I'm gonna have to clean out. I'll just brake cleaner a lot of this out. But yeah, never ever put this much RTV on. Should let the guy who know who did it last time. That was me. So I was too lazy last time. I didn't want to take the motor out of the car, and then I just put the pan on and I couldn't quite get it all the way. So I just plugged in a whole bunch of RTV in there. Don't do that. Don't be lazy like me I did last time, because you have to rebuild the motor again. So I'm gonna go ahead and die grind all of this off and clean it up real quick. All right, so you got the die grinder out. Let's go ahead and grind this off. Remember, safety first, kids. Let's get into it. Boom. Alright, so the oil pan is done, all cleaned out all the way around with the die grinder, and then I went ahead and sprayed brake cleaner all in here, dumped it out, wiped it off with the rag. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the RTV all along here, here, and here. And we're definitely not putting as much as we did last time. We're just going to put like a nice bead all the way around here, so then it'll sit nice in there. You don't need it all that excessive. Again, do not do that. Chunks can fall off, it can get in the motor, that kind of thing. All right, so oil pan's on. I got it all the way around. You can see there's a little bit of RTV coming out, but that's okay. As long as it's not like gooping out like it was before. So next what we're going to do is down here we're going to put on the rear main seal and this plate that covers it. So right here we're going to put the seal in, and then also put some RTV in a little bit around here just to go ahead and snug that up. So let's go ahead and do that. So the rear main seal is on. It's flush all the way around here. You want to absolutely make sure it's flush. And then you can see these grooves here, 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 and here. You want it to be flush inside of there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there you go. It needs to be absolute flush in there. You don't want to have any rear main seal leak. Absolutely take your time with this step, because you do not want to have to replace the rear main seal after you put this on, because then you got to take out the motor and the transmission, and it sucks. So just make sure you put it in right. Oil pan is completely on. It's all bolted up, tightened. Got the rear main seal on. You guys can see it in there. So rear main seal is on. I'm gonna have to stop right there because this is my old water pump. I found a new one for 80 bucks. New OEM one, you can get them, so may as well. There's no point in putting it back on. And then, so guys, I got a bunch of cool new parts coming. Got a new radiator. Let's go check this out. So I got a bunch of new parts in. This right here is straight from Japan. So we have Nismo radiator cap, and then this carbon fiber cooling plate from Garage Defend in Japan. So pretty cool. This oil cooling plate took since March to get here. It was absolutely crazy with COVID and everything. So finally got that, so that'll look good when I cover that up. Like again, I mentioned new radiator, all new parts. So this thing's gonna be beast when it's all put back together. I'm hoping here in a couple of months, maybe a month and a half, 2 months. So that's all that I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure thumbs up, comment, subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. Smash the like button again, please. Thank you guys for 5,000 subs. I appreciate it. And just like that, Shane Show's out. Peace.